Welcome to the Hero's Journey podcast. My name is Nick, and I'll take you on our journey today. Let's see what kind of comics I've been reading this week. If you remember correctly, I was working on September of 1943. So let's see what's at the tail end of that month. Okay, perfect. So first up, we have World's Finest Comics number 11, DC, fall of 1943 issue. I have to say this cover, not really the most exciting. We got some heroes in a garden patch. It's great. I find Batman's symbol on his chest looks a little funny. Looks more like a realistic bat than what I'm used to. So there's a Superman story, and Superman has to figure out why upstanding citizens turn to hatred and crime. Next up was Star Spangled Kid. He tracks down crooks using a floating island that moves to fleece unsuspecting tourists. He set up a fake hotel. Zatara puts an end to the gang of thieves leaving behind coupons after their robberies. Green Arrow tries to find the killer that set up a backwards crime scene. And Batman is thrown for a loop when a visitor from 100 years in the future steals seemingly valueless items. Most recent CGC sale I could find was 6.5 from September of 2020 for $660. Next up is Young Allies Comics number 9 from Timely. That's from the fall of 1943. So here you have another Alex Schomburg cover. Hitler's also featured on the cover. Again, Schomburg cover, lots of action, lots going on. Shooting, flying, hitting. Got an idol that's grabbing on to, got a lot of arms, grabbing on to some of the Young Allies. So two Young Allies stories in this issue. So the first one is, while the Young Allies are playing ground crew for a bomber, they accidentally take off on an adventure to Rome, where they bomb war plants and tangle with Benito Mussolini. In this issue, Toro is noted as being able to keep his flame on for 10 minutes. And I don't know that if that was specified anywhere before, but it certainly really makes it specific that there's a limit to his flame. You just can't keep that on forever. In the second story, Young Allies race to France to save a member of the French underground from being executed. Captain America makes a cameo appearance in this issue. So it is another Alex Schomburg cover. So you've got a recent CGC sale, 5.0 from August of 2020 for $2,299. That's the Alex Schomburg Hitler 1-2 punch. It's going to cost you a little bit if you want that issue. All right, now we're moving on to October of 1943. First up is Action Comics 65. Got Superman on the cover. He's doing some crazy crime fighting by opening a cash register with his fist. It's an exciting cover. So the first story I was reading, Superman helps an heir spend $1 million in 24 hours so that he can get $2 million for his charity work. Superman has to help him spend all this money quickly. It reminds me of the movie Brewster's Millions from the 80s. Now, clearly, this came out first, so I assume Brewster's Millions may have been based on this story. I was with Richard Pryor, by the way, for the fun fact. Zatara takes the summer to coach some teenagers for a local play, and some thieves come up with an elaborate scheme to keep him out of Gotham longer so that the crooks can pull off a job by having the teens keep falling asleep during the day. Sure, why not? You have a recent CGC 7.0 sale from October 2020, so just last month, for $895. Adventure Comics number 10, you have the October-November issue from DC of 1943. I'm not a fan of the kind of art that is on this cover and also in the interior for the Sandman story. It just doesn't look right to me, the way the characters are drawn. Not a fan. But Sandman tries to catch a model boat on the water and ends up catching some diamond smugglers. Why not? Starman finds the refueling setup for a U-boat that has been sinking U.S. cargo vessels. So this issue had a recent CGC 6.0 sale from October 2020 for $443. We have All American Comics 53, DC October 1943, Green Lantern. I'm not a fan of this kind of art. Looks like there's something going on with where his torso meets his belt waist kind of area. He doesn't look three-dimensional. His legs look flat. And I find it interesting that his face is different in the main image than it is up on the top left corner image. What's going on, guys? Like phoning it in. And Green Lantern takes on a quest to deliver 86-year-old letters from an old pouch he found. Good times. Adam's friend discovers a chemical that turns skin blue, and crooks use it for blackmail. Dr. Midnight disguises himself as a hobo in order to catch some Nazi spies. So the most recent CGC sale I could find was a 5.0 from September of 2018 for $360. Batman, number 19, October-November 1943 from DC. It's a fun cover with the characters. I just wish they didn't have to put the titles of all the stories in the on the cover. It's too bad. It's a really good cover. I'm sure this is really hard to get in high grade because it's black. But in the first story, Batman helps a reporter in poor health write one last great story before his time is up. Next up was Batman discovers a secret Nazi submarine base located in Atlantis. Batman and Joker must find out who is using the Joker's methods to pull off a heist. Bruce Wayne gets caught up in a scheme to kidnap and replace Gotham's millionaires. So you got 4 Batman stories there. Bruce Wayne does get kidnapped in the last one. You have a Joker appearance, which I feel this comic book does attract some larger dollars. Got a great Batman cover, black, hard to get in a higher grade. Joker in one of the stories. Most recent CGC sale I could find was the 3.5 from August 2020 for $449. Now, in that Batman 19 story, I found it interesting that you see the Batplane land on water and it has pontoons. I didn't know the Batplane could do that, and I believe this is probably the first time that the Batplane did do that. I highly doubt this is the reason that people are seeking this particular issue. I just thought it was a fun fact. Blue Beetle number 26 from Hollyoak, October 1943. Kind of a plain cover. I got to say the Blue Beetle covers really don't do that much for me. It's just not very exciting. It's just not a lot going on. Like, all right, we put the character on the cover, and that's it. It's not doing much. Nothing else going on. It tells me there's 2 Blue Beetle stories, 64 pages. Okay, thanks. So the Blue Beetle must save the kidnapped representative from Vinland from the Nazis. In the second story, Dan Garrett's mission is to get a British intelligent worker out of France. So you have a recent CGC 9.4 sale from February 2018. That's the most recent sale I could find for $1,075. What's interesting is that there's only one 9.4 on the census. So it looks like this same copy sold for $508 back in 2013. So someone pretty much just a little over doubled their money in 5 years. Wonder what that would be worth today. And interesting to note, there's only 7 copies of this issue on the census. So while it may not be the most exciting comic book out there, you got Blue Beetle and a couple stories, but it looks pretty rare. Captain America 31, timely, October 1943. Another Alex Schomburg cover. Got bondage on there. So you got another 1-2 punch on the cover. Captain America's face looks kind of funny on this cover, but again, lots of action, bullets flying. You got Bucky on there, Captain America working hard, good times. In the first story, Captain America is against a new biological weapon from the Nazis that spreads a swamp mud from a green mist that swallows everything in its path. Next up, Human Torch investigates murders of the telephone operators at the Army Intelligence Office in Washington. And again, Captain America is tasked with finding a secret Nazi submarine base capable of repairing ships quickly. Captain America gets on the trail of a Nazi coughing killer who attempts to kill people leading the American war effort. Most recent CGC sale I could find was from December 9, 2019. It was $7,400. So, right, this issue clearly is going to be worth some mucho buxo if you're looking for this Alex Schomburg again, Bondage, Captain America, 3 stories, Human Torch, lots going on. Cap Marvel Jr., number 12, Fawcett, October 1943. It's a fun cover. I like the action on the cover. The background's a little light, but I find it contrasts really well with the character. It's a good looking cover. I like it. Captain Marvel Jr. stumbles across a floating island in the sky the Japanese army is using to bomb U.S. military targets. Captain Marvel Jr. gets involved when a professor has a zombie servant and is searching for a cure for pain. Captain Marvel Jr. must take action when Savannah discovers a spray that makes giant insects, but end up working together against a Nazi invasion. Captain Marvel Jr. rescues an engineer and other prisoners from Captain Nazi. So 4 Captain Marvel Jr. stories in this issue. The most recent CGC sale I could find was a 9.0 from June 2020 for $540. And this is finally the last issue I read for this week. Was Detective Comics number 80 from DC, October 1943. Good cover, love it. Batman and Robin in action against Two-Face. Got a Two-Face cover here. So in the Batman story, Batman helps Two-Face give up crime so that he can be with his girlfriend, and he ends up wanting to marry her. And he also gets an operation to restore his face. So he walks away from crime. That's it. He's done. Restores his face. Operation, unfortunately, you know what happens in the comic universe. No one ever really walks away. Keep trying to get out, but they pull me back in, right? One of those. Nice. And then I read the Crimson Avenger story. He fights some Nazis over a scrap piece of paper, which turned out to have some very important information on it. Nazis wanted to get it back. Crimson Avenger wanted to find out, hey, why is this piece of paper so exciting? Most recent CGC sale I could find was a 5.5 sale from August 2020 for $950. So that's it for this week. That was the last of the comics that I have read. It was a good 10 issues. Good time. Lots of stuff. So now we're in October 1943. Lots going on. Alex Schomburg issues. Got Two-Face has decided to hang up his coin, I guess. No longer fighting crime. Got a bat plane on pontoon. Some fun stuff. A lot of good characters. Lots of fun stuff going on this week. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. If you could like and subscribe, do great. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you can. Let's see if we can get a conversation going, get more people watching this podcast. Thank you very much, and I will see you next week.